Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Happy playoff weekend, everyone. What's up, Callow?
Not too much. Very, very excited to join you down in Tampa this weekend.
Oh, that's right. You're coming what, Sunday?
Yeah, I'm flying in Sunday afternoon. First flight out Monday. So be good to go for the show on Monday morning. But can't wait to go see my first road playoff game.
That's right, Han. Where are you sitting? Where'd you get your tickets?
Upper level somewhere. I mean, it's
All right.
nothing too crazy. Not that football matters really where you're sitting, in my opinion.
For
So
those of you on the YouTubes, look at Callow brought out the Mark Brunell and Sean Taylor jersey, trying to hearken out 2005 vibes. 19
right.
years since they've won a playoff game. 19.
Your last starting quarterback in a playoff win for this franchise. So yeah, it's been a little
Yep.
bit.
Here we go, Jim. That's where we're at this week. Here we go. This is gonna be a doozy. Uh Somebody said to me this morning, probably best playoff game of the weekend. I agree, actually. I think it probably will be the best matchup of the weekend. I'll go through them later. I think the Eagles are going to smoke Green Bay. I don't think that game's going to be close. We'll see with Denver and Buffalo. I'm obviously leaning towards the Bills. I think the air's out of the Pittsburgh balloon, so I'm not expecting much there. And nobody cares about the Texans. That's why they're always Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Always.
Right.
Always.
So, and unfortunately, what's going on in LA with the Vikings and the Rams, I think that puts a cloud over everything that's going on there. So I think we've got game of the weekend. So NBC got it right. I think they picked the right one. This could be a track meet. This could be a problem. This is the one team that beat Washington by double digits this year. Feels like 8 million years ago, but and I think they're getting a very different quarterback, a really secondary. They don't have Chris Godwin this time around, but this is an interesting one. I don't know that it's last team to get the ball wins, but if something ended up in the high 20s, 30s, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the final score is.
Not only that, this game was 37-20, and really the last touchdown was garbage time. It was really
That's right.
37-13 before that last drive. Like, they were not just beat, they
Mm-hmm.
were definitively blown out in this game. And granted, it was Jaden's first game, and we have a lot of excuses that we can make, but this team didn't get really blown out for the rest of the season like that or lose games like that. And so there is, you know, cause for being concerned against them, is what I would say. And to your point too
Yeah.
of NBC getting it right, yeah, 100%. There was a reason why they were picked for Sunday night, and it's also because of the star power involved on both teams.
Yes. I'll tell you a little secret, actually. No, I won't reveal it. I can't reveal it. I should. Well, can I? Can I say this is going to happen? He's putting a camera in our booth.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because they like how we react to our plays. So you might see us. You might see us on Sunday night.
I won't. I'll be
So
in the
I'm
building. So, I'll have to catch it on the replay. But yes. That's exciting.
So,
I love that.
That's very cool. Yeah, I said that. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. Too late. Anyway, hopefully nobody's mad. All right. So let's start with this stuff. Baker's a badass. I like him. I see why they love him down there. The interviews, the press conference with Andrew Barry in Cleveland this week, which finally turned around to, and why didn't you want this guy? Has been great to actually hear him explain why he didn't want him. He is one of the few that won't go down easily. He's very physical. I heard Dan Quinn put it this way: you got to hit him like a running back. Joe Witt said it too. You got to hit him like a running back because he needs to be treated that way. I think that's something that actually needs to be verbalized to the refs before the game. Like, look, I know you want to protect the quarterback, but this guy doesn't protect himself. He's very physical. He invites contact. Don't start throwing crazy flares. When we hit him. And because I think I wouldn't say taking advantage of it, but he wants the smoke. He likes it. So I think it needs to be put out there that, look, we're only reacting to the way he plays. Don't flag us for anything because he wants to play physically that way.
No, I heard Quinn say that too because I played it on my show yesterday, and I had the exact same thought you did. I hope they let the rest know about that they pull up some film of how this guy plays. And you're right. Like, I listened to your interview with Sarah Walsh where you said that he wants all the smoke, and she was in full agreement on that too. This is a different cat at quarterback, the way that he operates,
It
and
is.
the difference with him too is he can kill you on those deep shots too. Like, he has had no hesitation to kill you on the deep shots too. And that's where I'm most worried about this game, because if Lattimore's healthy, okay, hopefully he, shuts down Evans, hopefully. But it's about all the other matchups that I am completely 100% worried about.
Yes. The other thing I'll say to you about him is this: he's really, really good from the pocket. He is really seeing it. I think last year, but really this year, he will scan. He looks a little jumpy. He'll pump fake. He'll kind of dance around a little bit. He's making really good decisions with the ball. Obviously, he has very high level receivers, even without Godwin. This guy McMillan has turned out to be outstanding for them, but he's been terrific from the pocket. So, I think it's this for me. You can get pressure on him, especially on the edges. Their tackles, not Tristan Wirfs as much, but like the other side, you can get pressure on the outside. Baker is very willing to step up, take the extra half second, find the right guy, make a very good, accurate throw. His numbers show you. I mean, he's 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. He's had a very, very good year. You have to collapse the pocket in the middle. If you do not, I'd rather him run into the outside because he's actually pretty mobile and he'll make a couple of plays here or there. He's not Jaden, though. He's not going to kill you with his legs. And I'd rather him have to, if he's going to throw from the side than from the middle. And then I think your chances of getting sacks with him are really better up the middle as well. So I don't know how they scheme these things up. But if you get the pressure off the edge, he's going to step up into the pocket. Someone's got to be there. This is where the John Allen, Sheldon Day, Deron Paynes of the world need to make plays against him and collapse the pocket internally to either get sacks or get him just to throw it away. So that's my key to like trying to deal with him.
No, I think I kind of talked about it this week too, where this defense, we kind of know the hand that we've been dealt for most of the season, but I still say that defensive line has so much more room to make some more noise than they have. And granted, Allen's only been back for 2 weeks. I get it with him, but Payne, there's just a little bit left more to be desired from that defensive line. And what better week than for them to wake up a little bit than this week, essentially.
Yes, and the other thing about them is this, and this is the one, like they're the only team in the NFL that is a top 5 scoring offense, total offense, rush offense, and pass offense. So they have arguably the best offense in the NFL, the most diverse, best offense. But there's one thing they do. They turn the ball over. And they're the only team in the playoffs that are minus in the turnover margin. Baker tied Kirk for the most interceptions this year. Here's a stat that's unbelievable, and I think it's lucky. He's fumbled the ball 9 times, but lost one of them. So they're going to give you opportunities. You guys down there in Ashburn have been telling me all year, ball is life. We're going to get the ball. We're going to have turnovers. It is the one thing that they've said would happen that has not. So guys, this is the week, because otherwise you're in a situation with a team that's operating at too high of a level, I think, to think that you're going to hold them to 17 points and just win. So unless Jaden's got to be Superman again, we got to get the ball a couple times. And so I'm putting the number at 2. I want 2 turnovers this weekend.
This one does reek of one of the corners not named Lattimore getting a pick. Like, if they're going to win this game, that's how I felt heading into these playoffs. Like, my favorite one would be if St. Just were to pick one off, of just like the smoke that he's been getting from the
closest
fans.
He came to an interception was week 1. He nearly had one against Baker. Yeah.
And that's the guy that I'm like, please catch one, because this fan base is just joning on him so much that I would love for him to get one. Or, our latest rookie of the week, Mikey Sanders, still, who's gotten a few of them this year. I would love for him to get one too. So
yes.
This is one where I'm hoping, with Lattimore, hopefully shutting Evans down. Maybe Baker forces it on one of those guys, and we get lucky and we get one here. But I'm with you. All year long, it's been, we want the ball, and it hasn't really happened. So once again, it would be nice if it, comes to fruition this week out of all weeks.
I would say the last couple of weeks, too, the teams they've faced, Dallas, well, not Carolina 2 weeks ago, but the Saints last week, who played them very hard and played us very hard, too, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Boy, their defense really came around at the end of the year. And the Cowboys, who beat them, that's the last loss they had since their bye. They're 6-1 since their bye. Of those 2 games, 2 of the final 3, the opponent was the more physical team. And this is where I feel good coming in is I know what we bring to the table with that. I think our physicality is ramped up the last couple of weeks. Jeremy Chinn's kind of turning into that missile we thought he would become. Martin's been throwing himself around a little bit. I thought he was missed last week when he wasn't out there. I'm seeing the physicality they're talking about. Wagner plays with it. Luvu plays with it. Chinn plays with it. Sandra still plays with it. It's like to see a little bit more from the interior defensive line that if they ramped up their energy like that. But the point I'm getting to is I've seen the other team out physical them. Tampa's pretty much winning anyway, partially because it's under the radar. They're having these comebacks late in games. Baker's been very good late in games. So I'm hoping that we're the more physical team here, and I think we can be the more physical team here.
No, they've showed shades of that all season long. I mean, we really had it at, I think, really the first half of the year. What's funny is the physicality lines up with how well their run game has gone, I feel like. And for some reason, it's like both sides of the ball. I feel like when they're running the ball really well, the defense steps up pretty well in that too. So, yeah, I'm with you there. They've shown shades of it. I think they've just been a little bit too banged up to kind of,
Yes.
jump into that in the second half.
All right, other side of the ball. This is where I've landed on the offense. The drive starters got to be better. Where they were really great at the beginning of the season was they were getting into these 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6s, and then they were playing off of that. And Jaden, in these very manageable situations, if he has to, he can get 2-3 yards. It's like no problem. So they can run whatever they want and trust him that he'll just get it and keep the drives moving. And they were having ungodly rush numbers early in the year. They were killing people time of possession. They were having all these 10-plus play drives. They were barely punting early in the season. And I think it goes back to they've had a lot of penalties. Their first down plays are getting blown up. So this is where I look at Cliff and say, all right, what do you got for these guys who are typically a pretty overly aggressive defense? Can you use the quick game to get 4 or 5 yards as an extension of the run game? Are there some middle screens where you will find voids if you catch them in their blitzes? They have a hard time with tight ends in the middle of the field. Are there a couple of end-around stretch plays you can run? Could you do more zone read with Jaden here to try to use the aggressiveness of the Buccaneers against them? I'm not looking for anything crazy on first down. What I want them to do is get back into that position where they're 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, not 2nd and long, because this team has shown recently they have a tough time getting out of those holes. But when they're in these 2nd and manageables, they become unstoppable because they go fast. And this is where they are at their best. We saw this a week ago when Mariota came in. They're at their best when they're playing with tempo. They need to get back into tempo. The only way to do that is they can't be in 2nd and 10 or longer. They can't do it that way. The drives blow up too quickly. So that's where I'm on Cliff here. The drive starters, and I don't know exactly what they are. Those are my thoughts. Like, they just need to be better, and they need to get them into a situation where they can start getting up tempo, because when they do that, this is when they become basically an unstoppable offense.
I'm 100% with you, and I also think don't overthink this. Like, Tampa Bay has one of the best rushing defenses in the league. Do not hesitate to just keep putting the ball in Jaden's hands. That's like kind of how I feel going into this game. Like, you don't have to run the ball for 5 yards if he can get you 5 yards, whether on the ground or a quick pass to somebody too. Like, that's I'm with you on getting into these better situations. The other side of this too is this second half and this offense with penalties has been just maddening. Some games, not every game, but there are games where it seems like it spirals on them when it comes to flags, and those 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5s turn into 1st and 15s, 1st and 10, or 1st and 20s because of penalties, they have got to be disciplined in this one too, because that has been, I think, the number one killer of some of their drives has been getting those penalties. Especially, you look at that game in Atlanta where they got the ball back at the end of regulation and penalties killed them. And luckily they got the ball back in overtime, but penalties killed them. They should have won the game in regulation. And so I'm with you. Penalties play into that as well.
Yes. There's one thing I haven't seen Jaden do a lot of this year, and I have a feeling may have to just a little bit today, albeit though Tampa Bay brings pressure from all edges and mainly up the middle too. So this one might not count as much, but can he actually step into the pocket and throw? Typically the default with him is he just bursts, either if he goes to the center of the line because he sees it, he's running. If he runs to the outside, he could throw and he could run. Could go either one. Dual threat, one of the best in the NFL, second to none. Maybe Lamar is better than him. That's about it. What I haven't seen him do a lot of, which I talked about earlier with Baker, you've got to collapse the pocket because he will step up into it and he's very accurate in a tight window in the pocket. I haven't seen a lot of that from Jaden. Now, he doesn't have to, but I'm just thinking about it with a team that's going to pressure him as much as this team is going to. The Bucs are going to do what they do. That I wonder if he's got that in his game or if that's a year 2, year 3 growth thing for him. It hasn't really mattered that much, but it might matter on Sunday night a little bit.
I think if the lanes are there, he will. I mean, I think one of the things with Jaden that he does, though, is he kind of moves around the pocket to get his guys open, right? I mean, this is why you and I have talked about it. There's no wide receiver 2 because it's wide receiver 2 by committee, or he finds Terry streaking down the field or streaking across the field because he runs around a little bit. I do think it's a little bit of a part of the offense that he moves around a little bit to give his guys time to be open. This offense to me hasn't been there. There are plays where the timing matters and he steps up, but we haven't seen that as the majority of the offense. I'm with you. It'd be nice if we saw a little bit more of it, but if they don't need to, they don't need to. That's kind of where I land on it.
On the running game, I'm hopeful that we're going to have Brian Robinson that we are accustomed to. The good news with him is he's been terrific in pass protection, and that's going to be paramount here this weekend against Tampa Bay, bring a lot of pressure. But he's been very good there. We haven't seen him run the ball all that effectively really since the Tennessee game. His numbers are way down. What's going on there? I don't know. And no one seems to have a real answer for that. And it's one of the big surprises of the season because I think he's one of the toughest bounce back players they have on this team. And everybody has a bad week. It's been a bad 3 weeks with him. So let's see what happens, which is why I think this is important. Eckler. Him coming back last week, I didn't expect him to play. I knew he was, they opened the window for him. I didn't expect him to play. Then he did. Then he looked like himself. And what you'll see against Tampa, especially recently, and their run defense is very good. They're ranked top 5. They don't give up 100-yard rushers, but they will give up yardage to these one-cut running backs in the center of the line between really the guard, tackle, guard, center. You can't get to the outside on them. They're too fast. Cansey, Diaby, Levante David, now the Shaquille Barrett is back. They're too fast on the outside. They're very good at pursuit on the edge. So if you try to run something fast, it better be like a jet sweep where it gets to there really quickly. Anything you try to stretch out, I wouldn't put anything past Jaden because I think he's a special runner. But like with Robinson or Eckler, anything you're trying to stretch out with them, good luck with that. They don't get really beat on a lot of this stuff. But you can get decent yardage in the center of the line with these one-cut, fast, decisive running backs. That's Eckler. So I wonder what his impact is going to be as a pass receiver out of the backfield, as a slot receiver, and as a running back. I would argue he needs more carries than Robinson does because of his style of running against this particular defense, this very decisive one cut back, go, see if you can get 4 to 5 yards or maybe get lucky, break a tackle, get a little bit more. I think he could be very impactful this weekend.
No, I think when you're trying to think of people that could win them this game on offense, not named Jaden and not named Terry McLaurin, I think Austin Eckler is probably top of the list. I'm not writing D-Rob off in terms of having, a good game, but I just think he has not seen the rushing lanes that well. From that Eagles game on, he hasn't been great. You mentioned the Tennessee game. The Tennessee game was the last time any of the running backs really looked good. even guys not named Brian Robinson like Rodriguez and McNichols. The run game in general just hasn't been good this last month. I hope that Eckler injects a little bit of life in it, because I think if he has an impact and they somehow can get some chunk yardage, get some plays, it doesn't have to be amazing because we know how good their rush defense is. That's going to be paramount if they actually get a win here. Eckler will be one of the heroes of the game for sure.
If he has 8 carries at 4 yards a carry, and it keeps a number of drives alive, and then he has a couple of catches out of the backfield that they run to him, I just think he could be his style, I think, is a very potentially impactful player for this team. So I'd like to see how they utilize him this weekend. And then I mentioned this earlier, but they have trouble covering tight ends. They give up a lot of yards to tight ends. So, that's Zach Ertz here. Zach Ertz has been outstanding down the stretch of the season. He's been a massive red zone threat for them, extremely reliable for them. So, it's funny, I find myself leaning on, and I'm not surprised it's gone this way, the veteran guys who've been there, done that, asking them to step up here. Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz on offense, the guys who've done this before. I actually think they're the best matchups really for this team, outside of let's Jaden do Jaden things. And because the Tampa Bay secondary is so beat up, I would hope there's going to be some opportunities for Terry down the field. But those are the two guys on the kind of keep the drives going, keep the trains running on time. They're the two that I look at here that are going to be, I hope, very impactful in many different ways to keep the offense moving and honestly keep Baker and company off the field. I'd love to see some nice long drives against Tampa Bay slow down their offense.
I would love to see a couple of those designed tight end passes that Cliff has pulled out of his bag every now and then, not necessarily with Ertz, but we saw one with Bates a little while ago where it was specifically designed to go to him. We haven't seen a lot to Sinnott, which I would like to see, just something there. Yeah. That would be nice to see, but I'm with you. Ertz has been kind of like the pleasant surprise of the season. I didn't really know what they were going to get with him. I didn't think there was much left in the tank there, but he's been outstanding down the stretch. He might be their most consistent player, not named Terry, down the stretch, to be completely honest. And so I'm going to guess he gets targeted quite a bit here. One thing I'll point out too, I played a clip yesterday from Chris Sims, because Chris Sims does a show with Matthew Berry. I believe it's on one of the NBC platforms. But Sims kind of I guess he had talked to Jaden before or after that Tampa game, must have been after. And Jaden admitted to him that was the most nervous he'd ever been for a game in his entire professional career, including college. So now I'm like, if that's the most nervous Jaden ever was, I would expect the offense is going to run much better all the way around coming around for this one. So
it's funny. He looked it.
Yeah,
he did. He looked it.
Exactly.
He vacated the pocket very quickly on all those blitzes, and his natural ability took over. And then I think things slowed down for him, and then he got it out of the way. I said this from the get-go. I thought this was a bad draw when they got them in week 1. Here's an all-new team, 30 new players, rookie quarterback. They're going at a team that annually makes the playoffs, has their whole team back, and blitzes like crazy. And they're good at it. And I thought that was a bad draw. And I remember when we left, I went, I'm not worried about him, actually. He's the last person I'm worried about. This was predictable that they, what did you expect? They're all new. They didn't know what they were doing. Their quarterback's in his first game going up against a specialist at pressure packages. Welcome to the end. It was an all-time welcome to the NFL. Yeah. And it looked it. The other thing that is very, very, so I think they get a very different Jaden Daniels, albeit, I think this needs to be said, he is on the injury list. So the whole poo-pooing of his leg is sore, no, it's something, it's something. And hopefully it doesn't limit him and he can go and everything's fine. But the other thing that is very, very, very different from week 1 is our starting quarterback tandem was Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste, and it's not that this weekend. So those are the two things that are wildly different from when they faced them 4 months ago. And that's why I'm hoping Jaden's experience level, I'm not worried about him playing them again or anybody at this point. And I think our secondary, go look at our ranking, is in way better shape than it was in week 1.
My number of the game is 9. they cannot be down by 9 points late in the fourth quarter. Like that's my number. Is this defense has to keep it to one possession the entire game, and for the reasons that you just stated there, the cornerbacks are better, but this is a completely different Jaden Daniels, obviously, than week one heading into this game. If they can keep it to one possession, I think hope remains alive no matter what happens, but they have to keep it to one possession, late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, my number's 2. I think 2 turnovers does it.
Okay.
They have rarely gotten 2 turnovers in games. This is a team that will give you opportunities to get them. Luvu, catch the ball. Like we need an interception. Baker's going to get hit. He fumbles the ball. You got to get it.
Yep.
This is the game, where the ball is life stuff needs to come true. And then we're on Sunday Night Football because everyone's expecting a heart attack. And let me tell you something, it's not just our team, it's them too. Yep. They've been doing it too late in games. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really great matchup, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
I'll say this too. The amount of Washington fans that are going to this game, I'm really excited to see how many people do show up here, because I don't know what the percentage is going to be, but the amount of people talking about going to this game is honestly unreal at the moment. So I really want to see what the representation looks like down there, because how cool is that going to be on Sunday Night Football if it's 50% Washington fans? I mean, that's an arrival that the fan base is back, essentially.
Yeah, the get-in price was still pretty high, which is always a sign of that there's a demand, and that demand is going to be coming from Washington fans for sure.
So I will say this, like I bought on Sunday night, like a lot of other fans did. Ticket prices have dropped all throughout the week, though. Huh. So it tells you that people are still trying to unload them. So if you waited, you can still get in pretty good. Like I think you can get in for about $100 right now if you just want to get in the door. 100, then 130 probably with fees or whatever. But Sunday was actually the high, which tells me so many Washington fans are buying them at the same time. It drove the ticket prices up, and now they've kind of solidified a little bit.
All right, let me take a quick break. Bray watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Let's go through the other playoff games this weekend. The Saturday special, mark it down every year. Houston will be in it. First kickoff, Houston. They're like constantly in the playoffs, but they're just like, they're the team no one wants to watch outside of the state. Actually, not even in Texas, outside of Houston. Nobody wants to watch them.
Mark it down. They're the first wild card, Saturday matchup every single year. It's actually unbelievable, but it's such an easy slot to throw them into because they're never a premier matchup. I mean, that's just how it is.
So let's see. Herbert's never won a playoff game, right? Because the one time they got in, they blew that massive lead in the game that everyone thought Al Michaels was turning into Joe Biden, right? Where he was like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you excited about one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history? They've rarely been in the playoffs anyway. Now they got who's got it better than us coaching them. They've been very good. They're not good enough to go far. When they played the really good teams, the Ravens, the Chiefs, they lost. So I think we know what the score is here. However, I think they're going to beat Houston. Houston's been way too up and down. Albeit, though, what is very under the radar is Houston's defense is still very good. And it's their offense that's been real up and down. Stroud's been very up and down. I have a feeling they're going to get frustrated. The Chargers will be steady Eddie. Give me the Chargers here. Low-ish scoring game. 20-17, something like that.
100% with you. You know me. I called the Texans frauds in week 2, that I just don't believe in them. I don't believe in Stroud this season. I'm not writing him off by any means, but a clear sophomore slump for him. And this is like a bad matchup for the Texans. They're going to get a team that is pumped to be there more than normal. Harbaugh's going to have them ready to go. Herbert's better than Stroud at the moment. I'm with you, like 20-17 or a 17-13 type game here. Low scoring. Houston doesn't do enough. Chargers are moving on.
Yeah, I'm not down on Houston like long-term or Stroud long-term. I think he's fine. I think they'll be good. I think they'll turn it back around. I think his career will get going. Like, he was very up and down. But when you are up and down and you play a team that's steady like this, often it goes the wrong way. I don't think the Chargers have much legs beyond this round. Like whoever they play next is probably beating them because those teams already have, and a couple of them have killed them during the year. So I don't expect them to get past this next weekend, whoever they play. But this weekend, I just trust them more. So I'm going to pick them to get a road win. Oh, man. Pickles is going to be roaring. Ravens Steelers, hon. Ravens Steelers, hon. This worked out because both of those teams played on Saturday. So the NFL didn't have to do a short week for either team. So that really worked out for both of them and for the rest of the teams that would have had to be forced to be put into a short week. The air's out of the balloon in Pittsburgh, like big time. So much so that like people are arguing that Justin Fields should start this week, which would be an incredibly stupid thing to do at the very last minute. I wonder if Tomlin's going to let Art do a bunch of packages with him this time just to try to change it up, to game up the game a little bit. I will be, Zay Flowers isn't playing. That's the one thing that like, I don't know how many explosive plays you can expect from Baltimore down the field without Flowers playing. So I do think that alters things a little bit here. Baltimore's defense has been good, not great. They were bad early in the season. They've gotten better. I don't trust Pittsburgh's offense anymore. I don't think they can do very much. But these games between these two are the Dan Campbell naked fistfights at a dumpster. And now they're in the playoffs in cold weather. Don't be shocked if it's 16-13, guys. Like, don't be total, like, just because they don't score 35, don't think that Lamar is playing bad again. This is not a good matchup for Baltimore to walk into the playoffs. Cold night game against an arch rival who can play. I expect Baltimore to win, but it will not be easy.
I expect this to be close for 3 quarters and then Baltimore to finally wake up and just hand it to Henry in the 4th quarter. I bet you this is close the entire game. And then Baltimore wins like 23-13 because they get a late score, late field goal, something like that.
Like a late score and the score looks worse than it is. Yeah,
exactly. Like I think what's going to happen here is this is just going to be close. Both of these coaches know that they're not going to risk anything against each other either. That's the other thing here. And then it's going to finally just open up with Lamar and Henry. That's the reason they signed him. They're going to eventually just start leaning on him. I bet you Baltimore, they just pull away in the 4th quarter here. I'm with you, though. Steelers offense is garbage at the moment.
It is.
I mean, they're the team that everybody's talking about. Do they get Rodgers? Do they get Cousins? Like, that's never a good feeling when those discussions are happening before the playoff loss even happens. So it just tells you where the feeling is for that team for the offense.
Yeah. I mean, when Arthur Smith was brought in, Arthur Smith is more apt to work with someone of the Justin Fields skill set than he is really with the Russ skill set. Yep. But they didn't have a real passing game with Fields playing. So they had to go, like, I thought it was the right thing to do to go to Russ. And then Russ had a nice little run and he was hitting all these big plays down the field. Those have totally disappeared. The other thing that I didn't like that I saw this week was somebody showed some video from the Ravens locker room where they were talking about something, and you heard somebody in the background describe George Pickens as soft. And I went, oh, boy. Like, this is it, the Ravens, like, this is the worst team they could have gotten, I think, in the first round, honestly. Like, just because they know them, arch rival, they've already lost to them once, in a game where, and Tucker isn't as reliable as he's been in the past. Like, sure. If they think this is going to be easy, and I don't think anybody up there does, but if they do, they're stupid because it won't be. I do think Baltimore will win, but it's going to be tough. You might be right. Like Henry busts one late that makes the score look a little bit better than it is, but without Flowers, so no explosive plays down the field, or I don't expect explosive plays down the field. I wonder if Pittsburgh comes at them now to just gang up on the run, come at Lamar, try to bottle him up, and dare him to throw the ball downfield. I think this game's going to be low scoring and close throughout. That's what I think.
To your point of them drawing the Steelers, too, it's like, Tomlin can game it up for one game against that team, too. Like, that's the worst feeling in the world. He can get it ready to go for one more game against them and keep it close. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not. Same thing with the Chargers. I would actually believe that Pittsburgh actually would have more of a shot than the Chargers next weekend. But if they were to win here, I think that would be it. Like that would be the end of it. Let's see. Broncos get the Peyton Nix debut. It's a bad draw in Buffalo. I was impressed with them against Cincinnati. The way they hung in there. Nix made a great throw into the game to keep them alive. Peyton's a terrific coach. I know a lot of people don't like him, but like he's a very, very, very good coach. Their defense is pretty good. I think they're walking into a steamroller game where that team's just too good for you and have done this too many times, and it's on their field. So I'm picking Buffalo here. I'm impressed that Denver got to where they got to, and I guess the future's very bright with what they've done. If this game wasn't against them there in the freezing cold weather, then I probably would buy a different outcome. If they were playing Baltimore, I actually, without Zay Flowers, I would go, I don't know, man. Like, you better watch out. Like, they could be trouble here. If they were playing Houston, I think they beat them. But I just think they got the wrong team. So give me Buffalo 31-24.
You're giving them too much credit, I feel like there. That crowd also is going to be juiced up. That crowd feels it, that if they're going to win the Super Bowl, it feels like it's going to be this season. I think it's going to be higher scoring. You
got a shot. I don't think they're wrong thinking that. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go 31-17. I think this is a comfortable game. I think Allen goes full Superman mode, as he's been pretty much the entire year. Knicks, I mean, we'll see what he's got here. I think he's had a very good season. I'm not going to try to judge him too hard on this game. I just think the Bills are the buzzsaw right now, and they're running into them, and good luck with all of that.
Yeah. And then the other one before we kick off will be Eagles and Packers. And this one's trending in a way that I don't think this game's going to end up being close. The vibes are off with Green Bay.
Yep.
They've lost every big game they've played. They've been close in a couple of them. They've been beaten in others. Last week, I don't know what they were thinking, but Jordan Love clearly is hurt, but I don't know how hurt. Watson's now out. The vibes are totally off. I think the Eagles are going to kill them. Like, if Hurts plays. If Hurts doesn't play, I still think they're going to win. But, like, if Hurts plays, they kill them. I think this one is a runaway. 34-10, 34-17, something like that. It's just Green Bay is trending so the wrong direction. And the Eagles, they've got a couple things that are unstoppable. It's that train's going to leave the station early. That game's not going to be close. Philadelphia wins.
Hurts has practiced the last 2 days, so I'm sure he will be good to go. AJ Brown also didn't practice yesterday, but they were like, no big deal. He's still going to play.
They don't need him.
Yeah, right. With the Packers, too, I think I said this to you earlier this week. If they don't block that Bears kick at the end of the game, they go 0-6 in their division. The fact that they didn't take care of business at least one time against the Vikings or the Lions tells me they're not ready for those prime NFC teams. Not prime time, but those prime NFC teams. I'm with you. I think this one's not really close. I'm going to make it a little lower scoring. Go 24-13, 27-13, something like that. Comfortable win for the Eagles, though. Nothing really to worry about.
If the Eagles lose, Nick Sirianni will be fired on Monday.
Well,
I'm not even kidding. Period.
You do realize we've got to root for the Packers, because if there is a chance they get a home game, we need to root for the Packers and the Commanders to go to the NFC Championship game. So, yeah, I'm rooting for the Packers, obviously, but yes, he will be fired if he loses
obviously,
this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen. But if it did, Sirianni's going to get fired. It's not going to happen, and they're going to roll into the next weekend. So that will end all dreams of Washington getting a home game in this playoff run. All right, real quick before I go to a break, who you got in the Super Bowl since the playoffs are starting? Who you got?
I'm not going to go against the AFC with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have won all of these close games all year long. Their defense is very good, and their offense, as you know, can wake up at literally any moment in time. So give me the Chiefs on the AFC side, and on the NFC side, I think I got to go Eagles here. They've been there before. They have a good run game. Their defense is good enough. They have a good pass defense. They have a good rush defense. I think they've got a really good roster top to bottom that's going to win them the NFC. I think what's going to happen here, and you and I have discussed this, I think Dan Campbell's going to shoot himself in the foot, and that's what's not going to get the Eagles to get the Lions to the Super Bowl. It's going to be some dumb mistake that we talk about like we did last year. And I just think the Eagles are built to win in the playoffs, though. They don't turn the ball over. They're going to run the ball, and that defense is really good. So give me a Super Bowl rematch of the Eagles and the Chiefs again.
So I'm assuming that the Packers get beat this week, which means if Washington wins, and I do feel very confident about it, they're walking into a buzzsaw next week. That is a real bad draw. That team off a bye is a buzzsaw. So I think whoever plays them next week, whether it's us or Green Bay or anybody, I think it's going to be trouble.
Yep.
So I got them in the NFC Championship no matter what.
Okay.
I think it'll depend who they play. It probably will be Philadelphia. If it's anybody but them, I think they handily get to the Super Bowl. If it is Philadelphia, let's see it. Should be a pretty good one. I'm going to take Detroit. I'm going to take the team with a bye and with home field advantage. Boy, did they prove a lot by what they did to Minnesota. That was embarrassing that they just throttled them with a defense that's missing that many people. I think Aiden Hutchinson will play with a walker if they get that far. So give me Detroit to get there, and I'll take Detroit Buffalo. I think this is just Buffalo's year to get there. And then that Super Bowl will be one of those, I feel so terrible for either fan base, whoever has to lose, because they've both earned it for so long. And one of them's going to have to lose, and that's going to suck. So if we're right, I'll get there when we get there, but I'm going to call Detroit Buffalo in the Super Bowl this year.
I will say this too. If the Commanders lose to the Buccaneers this weekend, I like the Buccaneers against Detroit if they get them, because remember, they were close to winning in Detroit last year. Remember, it was literally a one possession game.
That's right.
They just couldn't finish the game out. I think it was. I feel like I can't remember it exactly. I think Baker either turned the ball over, they missed a field goal, or something.
He did.
I remember that they went into Detroit and they scared the Lions. So
Yep.
I will say this: if the Buccaneers win, watch out for them too the rest of the way, because they're also built like a playoff team.
All right, let me take a quick break. Bray Watch the Show. He's be at 6:30, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. We shall find out this evening. Is Texas back? They get to finally answer that question by playing Ohio State in the state of Texas at the Cowboys Stadium. I like Ohio State. I think the way that they've kind of they should have been charged for a crime for that murder of Oregon. I mean, that was really if they're going to play like that regularly, they're the best team in the country, and it's not close, actually. So Texas is a little up and down for my liking. They're a little kind of too close with teams that are close to their level, but not on it. Give me Ohio State. Sorry, state of Texas. I wonder what that stadium is going to look like. It'd be very telling if it's a lot of Ohio State fans, because it's too easy for the Texas faithful to get in because it's in Dallas. So I'm expecting a heavy Texas crowd. If it isn't, that says a lot about you guys. But I got Ohio State tonight to win.
I have Ohio State too. I think they have been galvanized since the whole Michigan incident, and I feel like this has just fueled them every step of the way. And like you said, they murdered Oregon last week, and that was just, I don't think anyone saw it coming like that.
No.
The fact that Day has them playing like this, I'm with you. I don't think this is actually more on Texas. I think it's more that Ohio State is just hitting their stride at the moment.
This year, it is not a very good quarterback class coming into the draft. That is clear as day. I would buy Cam Ward a little bit. I would buy Shador a little bit. Beyond that, it's hard to find anybody that you would go. Everyone else feels they fall into the Kenny Pickett category of, let's be like, is he good? I'm not really sure. We have nobody else. Like, I'm feeling that way. So right on cue, the Penn State quarterback is getting all this publicity as, he's rising up the charts, and the Giants have done a lot of work on him, and they really like him. And then he throws up on himself, and he threw a ghastly, terrible pass at the end of that game. And he apparently did not complete a pass to a single wide receiver in a college football semifinal. If you use a top 5 pick on him, you're crazy. Okay. If you want to pick him somewhere else, fine.
Right.
But if you are one of those quarterback hungry teams that watched this last night and still use a top 5 pick on him, you are a crazy person and you want to be fired.
This is one of those ones. I tell you this every year where don't overthink it if you're on the fence about somebody. This is one of those quarterbacks. He falls into the Will Levis category, falls into the Daniel Jones category. If he's not the one of one 5-star recruit, do not bother. Like, do not draft this guy in the top 10. If you do, this is 100% on you. We've literally seen it now. He is not worth a top pick. And then you're going to be asking yourself whether he's the quarterback of the future for 5 years straight. So good luck with all that if you do draft him.
And then for this coach who's just, wow, good for you. I'll be interested to see if there's any NFL interest in him all of a sudden once he gets through the next week. And then secondarily, what would be incredible is if LSU fired Brian Kelly and hired him. That would be, that would be just too perfect. Didn't Brian Kelly leave Notre Dame saying he wanted to leave Notre Dame because they don't have enough resources to win a national championship? Wasn't that one of the reasons he said he left?
I believe so.
And here we are, a few years later, and this guy's in the national championship with them, and you're not. And you just had the Heisman Trophy winner on your team and a top 10 pick receiver on your team.
Yeah, exactly right. I will say this. It's the first time you mentioned Brian Kelly in a long time. You haven't done the Brian Kelly bit all season long.
Yeah, I know. Like the show got shortened, and what got shortened, like to your benefit, was I don't do the college football preview segment anymore, which I know now, and I'm starting to realize now you miss a little bit. I knew you would. I knew you'd miss it.
The Brian Kelly bit on YouTube, I think, would have went over fairly well. I will say that.
That's true. Maybe next year. Maybe I'll bring it back next year. We'll have to see.
People still comment about "Hey babies" every show. So the Brian Kelly bit would have gotten some comments on here.
Yeah, that's right. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you're gonna have to listen to shows from last year.
Yes, exactly.
Callow hated it. He would put up with it. Hated it. But now you're realizing there was some merit to that. Now that we're talking about him again, yeah.
Sometimes you don't know what you got till it's gone,
All right, everybody. Hopefully we're talking about a win on Monday. Talk to you then. Bram West Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital.